Hello everybody, welcome back to my television review series. Today we'll be breaking down the 5th and final season of The Wire. Just finished watching it this morning. I think the season 4, I dropped that down to like a C or C+. This one was alright. I'll give you go through some characterization, character development, notable scenes as best as I can. Definitely not the whole thing. And again, not so much talking points or anything like that. So at the end of season 4, again, Omar had just jacked the supply of the whole CoOp. Him and his Mexican boy El Nino are going down just to some Spanish-speaking Latin America place. The big and that's kind of like the end of season 4. The beginning of season 5, what you really have is just a bunch of budget deficits. It really didn't like season 4 because of the whole Carcetti mayor shit. That just not exciting. But you start off, and basically you have Carcetti. They had like a $54 million deficit on the education side. You have his campaign manager, or his right-hand dude, Norman something. The senator, I didn't know his name. It says Sheed. Literally in this season. His name's Clay Davis. And so again, the Sheed is definitely going on in this season as well. But they have a big budget deficit. So you have all of the police aren't happy because they're not getting their overtime pay, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. And Carcetti is just getting hounded for, again, keep the crime rate down. You know, who's going to get promoted here? Who's going to get promoted there? That makes me want to off myself. This season, we also have a new presence. We have the Baltimore Sun, which is a newspaper. And there we have Alma Gutierrez, Gus Haynes, Scott Templeton, James Whiting III, who's the owner or the chief editor, or not Gus Haynes is the chief editor, but James Whiting III is like the owner, or definitely the highest boss. And they have a other boss called Thomas Clay Bono. And I have Breaking Bad ? I'm pretty sure this dude, whoever plays this dude, was who played Gale, the other cook in Breaking Bad. So at the beginning of the season, you have the same stuff going on. Prop Joe is running the CoOp. Michael Lee is now out of grade school and he's a full-time hitter with the Marlowe's crew. You got Chris and Snoop, who are muscle for Marlowe. You got Monk and Cheese, who are distributing East and West. Marlowe literally, well, we'll get to that, but the whole again, Baltimore drug gang or drug dealers are pretty much again on a CoOp, kind of working together. You have Proposition Joe. You have Slim Charles. Used to be with the Barksdales. Now he's with I think it's with Marlowe. No, he's probably with Prop Joe. He's with Prop Joe. You have Cheese, who's with Marlowe and bounces around quite a bit. You have Omar and Butchie, and you have Bubbles for the criminals, as well as, I think that's all the only criminals. And there were some other reporters that I didn't put up here, just the major ones that had roles that I remember. And so Marlowe's banging hits, selling drugs, running the CoOp, and because of the budget deficit, basically they have to shut down the major crimes investigation on all of the bodies out of the vacant houses at the end of season 4. And again, McNulty plays a way bigger role in this season than season 4. And McNulty and Lester are very upset that there's not funding to catch Marlowe. So kind of the big overview, and then specifically how does that develop so because they don't have I guess the first major hit or murder of this one was Marlowe. Somebody, Junebug called Marlowe something bad, so he had Chris and Snoop do a triple homicide, just kill them. Michael Lee was out back, so he's like a little 5-year-old run outside, decides not to shoot him. So you have Greg's investigating that murder. Again, they're all pretty much major crimes is pretty much shut down, and they're all back at the homicide building. So Greg's is working that one. McNulty is at the beginning. Again, he's shacked up with Russell from season 2, and back in this season, at the end of season 4, throughout season 4, he was pretty laid back. This season, he's back to being drinking a lot, raw dogging randoms. If you ever seen, what was that movie? Going to Branston. She's out of my league. Maybe she's out of my league. But whenever they go to Branston, and it's something with T.J. Miller, and the opening scene of that movie is like this dude trying to act like he's moved on from his girlfriend, and he literally says, "Yeah, I've been raw dogging randoms." And she goes, "You've been raw dogging randoms?" Hilarious scene. But got a little sidetracked there. But McNulty's sleeping around, staying out late throughout the season. His relationship with Russell definitely gets strained. But additionally, because of the deficit or the city budget deficit, they don't have enough money to investigate all of the bodies and process all of the lab work in the bodies. At some point in the season, Bunk goes into like the lab processing center, and basically some new intern hire had mixed up all of the data, so they don't even know where it came from. So the police department's not doing so good. Just throughout the season, how does it develop in terms of like the rank and file of the police? Again, Burrell starts out as police chief commissioner. He gets dethroned like midway towards later at the end. Then Rawls is kind of like the acting commissioner, while Carcetti and Norman basically groom Daniels to be the next Lieutenant Cedric Daniels, who is dating Rhonda, the district attorney. You get a new. Well, he's grooming him for some political advantage reason. Carcetti wants to now go from mayor to governor. Burrell wants to go from police commissioner to superintendent of the state or something. Get all of the political. Again, just seeing this is what entertains Americans, or just people just competing over your careers. It makes sense, but it's fucking horrible to watch. And so you have a new state attorney who Rhonda works under, is Rupert Bond. And so I think at the very end, like literally at the end of the season, I think Valchek ends up being the police commissioner, but we'll get to why. And so notable, so that was like the first major criminal scene was Marlowe doing the triple homicide because Junebug called him a bad name. And then what else does he do? Butchie. So Omar's bank, Butchie, who I think it's this season you learn that the reason he's blind is he was in the street at one point, took a bullet early and lost his eyesight. So that's why Omar is close with Butchie. And so I think Marlowe wants to get at Omar for stealing his pack, his supply, and he's now out of the country. So Marlowe goes to Butchie, tortures him, kills a couple other people in his shop, leaves one dude alive, and is like, tell Omar who did this, And so that happens. That's a big hit in the scene. Omar comes back, and he's literally just hunting people associated with Marlowe. He kills one guy, Savino, who was an old enforcer for the Barksdale, now with Marlowe. And so Omar kills him. Additionally, another big plot development in this thing, again, Prop Joe set up the co-op. He's got to connect with the Greeks, so Marlowe's going to make a play for that. So he literally has, during one of the co-op meetings, there was a guy named Hungry Man, and he offends Cheese. So basically, Marlowe, Chris, and Snoop kidnap Hungry Man, beat him up a little bit, tie him up, and leave him in a warehouse for Cheese to kill, and say a favor for a favor. And then when that happens, after that, Prop Joe is talking with Cheese. Cheese leaves the room, and then right when he leaves the room, Marlowe and Chris come in. And Marlowe's like, "Oh, Prop Joe, close your eyes, it'll be quick." And then Chris shoots him in the back of the head. So now you have Prop Joe dead, and then they host one more co-op meeting where Marlowe's like, "I know what you guys are thinking. I killed Prop Joe. Yes, I did." He's like, "Now I'm running things. I've got to connect." Well, he also, before this happened, he met with the Greek dude, and I don't know if they wouldn't deal with him. He brought him a suitcase of cash one point, but I don't know if that really pushed him to kill Prop Joe, or the Greeks had agreed to deal with him before killing Prop Joe. But I think it was after, and they just didn't have a choice. So Marlowe's now the head of the co-op, and is like, "We don't need any of these meetings anymore." So co-op gets kind of disbanded that way. what happens after that? Well, again, then Omar comes back. He gets the Slavino. Omar gets whacked in probably like the second to last episode in a very anticlimactic way. I was hoping there'd be a big shoot. Oh, before we get to that. So, Chris, Snoop, and Michael Lee. Again, they have some setup where they know Omar's going to come at him, so they're just being out in the open, kind of, to be prepared for it. So Omar and another old dude, old gangbanger, run up into the apartment, kick down the door. Omar's clearing the house with a shotgun. The other old dude has got a handgun, and then they immediately start getting fired on by Chris, Snoop, and Michael Lee. And so the other old dude takes one to the head. He's dead. Omar doesn't hit anybody. He's taking heavy fire behind a couch. He sees a window, has no other options, runs and jumps out. I think Marlo calls it Spider-Man shit. But he doesn't die there, breaks his leg severely, and for the rest of the episode, or for the rest of the season, he's got a really bad limp, which is realistic but doesn't make for good TV, because he's pulling up on dudes with literally like a cane and hopping around. It's just kind of off on that point. I really liked the Omar character up until that, detracted a little bit from there. But then, that was the big thing for before Omar gets killed. Omar goes into a convenience store to get some Newports, cigarettes, and then some little random hopper just shoots him in the head. So super anticlimactic there. I was hoping for a good gun battle between Omar and the Marlo crew, but Omar's now dead. At the very, very end, the season finale episode, we'll get to that because Marlo gets arrested. And so that's kind of like the violence so far. But the real development throughout the season is, because of the police budget checks, McNulty really wants to get Marlo Stanfield. And so what does he do? He basically creates fake bodies of homeless people. Well, not fake bodies. Bunk and McNulty are investigating just a dead person, and they realize it's just a homeless dude that's overdosed. McNulty fakes strangulation, literally post-mortem, puts hands on his thyroid, cracks that, shows a struggle in the room, and this is an abandoned building, so it's pretty run down anyway. And Bunk Moreland's I'm having nothing to do with this. And so McNulty basically creates this thing where it's a fake homeless person serial killer. Well, a serial killer who kills homeless people. Bunk wants nothing to do with it. When Bunk tells Lester about it, Lester Freeman, he's basically oh, that's a great idea. Here's how we can do it better. And so Bunk's just what the fuck? So McNulty and Lester agree to work together, again, literally breaking the law to try to frame Marlo Stanfield, or to get more budget for detectives to investigate Marlo. And so throughout the season, he ties red ribbons around them. Lester does whittling, just makes small desk drawers out of pieces of wood. So he makes this a fake set of teeth. And so when they find a homeless person dead, they make it look like a murder, and then they put bite marks on his butt, on his arms and stuff, to make it like a sexual serial killer of homeless people. The whole city goes up into a buzz. Carcetti's giving press conferences about it. You have undercover officers now working at homeless gatherings, under bridges and stuff, and a bunch of surveillance people, all for McNulty, basically for nothing, made up. So you got McNulty on that, Lester on that, one of the other light-skinned black dudes in the homicide / major crimes is working with them as well. Keema Griggs wants nothing to do with it. She's the one that ends up telling Rawls or Burrell or Daniels about what's going on. And again, throughout the season, Burrell's the commissioner, then he gets dethroned, then it's Rawls, and then it's Daniels at some point in there. So at that time in the series, Daniels is the one who gets told. But I think at that point, Rawls is the actual commissioner. And so they're all up in shit about it. Well, it goes on for a while. And then Lester puts up an illegal wiretap. Because again, all of this time, the wire, they've had to, get probable cause, had to prove by Judge Phelan. And they're basically just if we can gather the data, we can put it down as a confidential informant, and then nobody will know it's a wiretap. So that obviously does not go to plan throughout the season. They end up catching Marlo Monk, the whole crew, Monk and Cheese with a bunch of weight, Marlowe on conspiracy, Chris on all of the murders. And from season 4, when he killed Michael Lee's like stepfather or something, there was DNA on that scene, so they had him dead to rights on that case. So Snoop is still kind of free, and all of the other criminals are still kind of free. And so that lasts for a while. They get the arrest. Shit hits the fan when they all realize it's a total lie. But again, for some reason of the political involvement, Carcetti doesn't want to go public with it. None of the big bosses of the police chief want to deal with it. So McNulty and everyone involved in that could have gone to jail, but basically they're just like, you can't do on active duty after. But they don't want to like fire acting people, acting detectives, because it would stir up a bunch of media. And so McNulty's allowed to work like some back desk unit or something, or as long as he wants, or just to resign. At the end, Lester resigns, and I think McNulty resigns as well. And at the very, very end scene, they do a thing where they put out, like, if someone dies in the police force, they put them out on a pool table and they give a speech about him. So they do that with McNulty as he's alive, and it's actually pretty funny. And Jay is doing his thing. He runs the homicide department, not the big boss, but he runs all of these other people. And he's not really aware of any of the shit till it all hits the fan, or until it's all out in the open. And so, other notable things, after Marlowe gets arrested, Chris ends up taking life without parole for all of the bodies and the vacants. And while in prison, because of on the affidavit, it says a confidential informant, when really that's a lie from McNulty and Lester. Marlowe thinks that Michael Lee is the one, because they have this new thing. Spiros, the Greek dude, gives Marlowe a phone. They have a secret code, and they just send each other pictures of clocks. And so, when they're in prison, they think Michael Lee is the one snitching. So they're going to have Snoop, who's out free, to kill Michael Lee. So Snoop's like, hey Mike, we got to go whack some dude. I'm going to bring you a gun with the serial numbers sodded off. Or, yes, wiped off. And so Michael Lee spots out the location, sees Snoop's bullshitting him. And so when Snoop picks him up, he's like, where's my gun? And she's like, oh yeah, I got it at the spot. And then at that point, they're just driving. He's like, oh, pull over, I gotta take a piss. So she pulls over into like an alley, and Michael pulls out a gun real fast and like, I know you're just gonna go whack me. So then Snoop goes, how does my hair look? He goes, your hair looks good, girl, and then shoots her in the head. So Snoop's dead, Chris is in jail, Monk and Cheese are in jail. But because the case was built on false pretenses, the lawyer, who now, Herc, is now, he actually, I forgot to say a funny scene from season 4. The beginning of season 4, Herc walks in he's on like the governor's detail, the mayor's detail, and walks on him getting a blowjob. So he kind of like, I forget what happens there, but that's what happened at the beginning of season 4. In season 5, Herc is now like the assistant at the law firm of the lawyer that does all of the criminal casework for these people. And so that's how they got the phone number to put up the wiretap, as Herc took it off of the lawyer's contact cards, and gives it to Carver. Carver gives it to Lester or somebody. And so that's kind of what's going on there. And pretty much Herc doesn't play that much of a role. Carver, again, is promoted to some eastern western district. He's doing stuff. Greg's, Russell, they're all in, Russell's not in it, but the rest of them are in the homicide department. And so, after all of that happens, there's one more meeting between the rest of the people, the criminals, the CoOp group, trying to pool money, because Marlowe, part of the sentencing, or the final deal, because of the illegal wiretap, was Marlowe gets to walk free, basically, as long as he doesn't do anything in the drug game. I forget what the legal term was. They put it on STED, like the STED docket, where it's like, this case isn't gone, so if Marlowe starts selling drugs again, they can pull it down and charge him with literally everything they have on his current case. Because all the political stuff, they don't want it to be super public. So Chris takes life for all of the murders. Monk and Cheese take conspiracy charges for like 20 years. Marlowe basically gets to walk, and he sells the plug for $10 million. So the rest of the criminals are gathering money to re-up from the Greek people. And they have just a meeting outside by a train yard. They're all talking, pulling money. Cheese is talking shit, pulls out a gun, one of the dudes, making fun of him for not having 900,000 while selling drugs in Baltimore. And he's just like, when I was with Prop Joe, when he was in the lead, I was with him. When Marlo was in the lead, I was with him. And then Slim Charles pulls out a gun and shoots Cheese in the head for killing Prop Joe, or setting Prop Joe up. So Cheese dies in the last episode. Michael Lee, I think he might be, there's one more stick-up scene, I think that's him robbing the rim store where Marlo always banked his money or hung out. So that's really it for the criminals. Again, Butchie's dead, Omar's dead, Cheese is dead, Prop Joe dead, Snoop dead. Bubbles, he's clean this season. He's going to rehab with a sponsor. He has an article written about him by Michael Fletcher, who's one of the reporters, just again trying to report again from the lie, reporting on the homeless. And Bubbles gets a good story written about him. So at the very end, again, Bubbles is now living in his sister's basement, who locks the door from the upstairs so he doesn't go pawn all of her stuff, which he's done in the past. In the very final scenes, you see him being allowed to eat at the table with his sister. So we've talked about the police dudes. Anything else interesting from them? Not really. I think Russell and McNulty end up staying together at the very end throughout a rocky season for sure. Political stuff, don't care about. Again, Rupert Bond always saying she, he literally says she need in this season. Rhonda, talked about her a bunch. The only real drama at the reporters, the Baltimore Sun, is Gus Hayes is the chief editor. He's getting whiff just from his writing. Scott Templeton always has the perfect quotes. So Gus basically throughout the season ends up calling him out, just saying you're just lying. And Alma Gutierrez gets the notebook where Scott's been screaming, I wrote this all down word for word, and there's nothing written down in it. James Whiting III is the owner, and Thomas Clabano is the two head bosses, and basically they're on Scott's team. They like the writing, they're trying to win a Pulitzer Prize. In the final scenes, you see them winning a Pulitzer Prize. So that's kind of the resolution there. Anything else that really struck out to me? Bubbles, talked about him, some Charles, we talked about all of these people. So we'll say that's about the end of the season. And end of the entire series of The Wire. So what is my final grade? Again, the political stuff was off-putting. The reporters didn't really do much for me. I'll bump it back up to a B-. I thought the criminality was all right. We had some good action, and maybe just because it was the resolution to the entire series. So that's my thoughts on The Wire Season 5. Now, obviously, that's the last one, so the next TV show on my list to watch, probably Yellowstone. Probably watch Yellowstone. There's another season of Snowfall, either coming out or been out. There's another season of, what's the other one, American Animals, or no? The one with, I can't remember the name, but another crime show that I've referenced in my crime show comparisons video. American something, I don't know, it's not important. But I'll watch probably another crime show. I don't really break down. I mean, I watch a bunch of TV, but it's not a bunch of talking points for other shows. I might watch Euphoria. I've seen a bunch, just big buzz, whatever the popular TV shows is, I'll watch. But I think that's just more of like high school type of stuff. So maybe might check that out. But thank you for watching my review of The Wire Season 5. See you next time.